And I will go ahead and share my screen. Well, first of all, 380 weeks and that lead-in song. Now I know why this was one of the first groups that I heard everybody talk about in North Carolina as a powerhouse of activism. So I'm honored and excited to be here. As Karen mentioned, I'm outreach director for Progressive Turnout Project. I'm actually from North Carolina. I live up in Chicago. I've been here since 2005. Grew up in Asheville. My folks still live there. My sister lives in Franklin County. I've been down in North Carolina about 5 or 6 times in the last 12 months, sometimes for politics, sometimes just to go to Asheville. um, don't tell my parents we go there for the beer and the mountains, and then we see them while we're there. But um, anyway, I started an organization as part of Progressive Turnout Project called Postcards to Swing States out of my garage in 2020. Before that, I had a 15-year corporate career in industrial supply distribution. So I'm not a career politico or anything like that. I actually went to the Women's March in DC in 2017, got started in activism around the same time that groups like this probably started forming up. And one of my favorite things to do is actually door-to-door canvassing. I probably knocked 12,000 doors since 2017. That's my family right there at Disney World. Especially right now, I like to just start briefly with sort of why I'm still extremely optimistic as more of a political strategist and practitioner that follows polls in the context of how we should understand them and other data points. Voters who are going to determine the outcome of this election are not paying attention. They're going to actually honestly really tune in and start paying attention in the final 10 to 14 days of the election. So we're not going to be out of this thing, and I'm optimistic that whatever happens with Biden as our nominee, we're gonna not only defend the White House, but you guys are gonna crush every statewide election in North Carolina. Polls don't vote; our actions are going to determine the outcomes. Probably something that you're already like consciously well aware of. And then we just got to not let the media gaslight us because Democrats have won or overperformed in every single election since 2016. They're close. But if we do the work, and if we, excuse me, if we fight, we're going to win. As an organization, Progressive Turnout Project is the largest direct voter contact org in the country. We're focused like a laser beam on boosting Democratic turnout. So we are not involved in persuasion campaigns, which are important, but just about mobilizing people that if we can get them to the polls, are extremely likely to vote for Democrats. So we want Democrats to win. Progressives in our name, but we're not an issue advocacy organization. We're about making sure that Democrats beat Republicans in November up and down the ballot. We are fairly unique as the only organization that's going to put something like $35 million into the election that puts 100% of that money into field programs or direct voter contact programs rather than advertising. I'm going to talk about our door knocking program in North Carolina, but just a quick overview. So that distributed organizing program is what I'm going to talk about. It's a flexible paid door-to-door canvassing program for getting out the vote. That'll be in 95 counties across the state of North Carolina and 5 other states. We also had 99 folks paid to work on campaigns in the state of North Carolina in the midterms. We're going to have a couple dozen folks working on campaigns this fall. All of your competitive state legislative and state Senate campaigns are going to have, if they're competitive, a PTP campaign fellow that's paid to be a field organizer working on their campaign from early September through the election. So we're proud of that program. A lot of folks that are frankly running your state party are former campaign fellows of ours, especially over in the western part of the state. People like Kristen Robinson, Michael Crecia, if you know either of those names. We have the largest paid relational organizing program in the country. We're going to actually pay 30,000 folks to reach out to voters in their community in places like Charlotte, Raleigh, and in Durham, where a lot of you all are. And then I mentioned our Postcards program. I'll quickly touch just briefly on that as well. But all in all, we're going to pay more people to be involved in direct voter contact than the Biden campaign. 40,000 people, when you add it all up, that'll be paid to be part of the Get Out the Vote effort. Many of them are contractors just during the final weeks, so it's not anywhere close to as much money as the Biden campaign's putting into field, but just for a frame of reference, more actual humans. And then we have about 250,000 people writing postcards with us this year as volunteers. So for that postcard program, if you've seen these cards anywhere, that's us. They're free. We have now had folks write 58 million handwritten postcards since 2020, which is probably about as many as every other org doing letters or postcards combined. We provide them for free. That's sort of the trick to that. People do need to provide the stamps. This is literally our warehouse right now. I'm going to head there after we talk because we have about 10,000 orders in our queue since the debate. A tripling of postcard orders over the last 10 days is great for democracy and our ability to expand and hit our goal of 26 million postcards this year. So all of our cards are to be mailed in October when they can do the most good for get out the vote. We've done the most research and data testing. Could talk forever about that, but the main thing I want to cover over the next 6 or 7 minutes here is our paid canvassing program in North Carolina. It's not only a paid program, but it's designed to be flexible and really support the more rural parts of the state that don't have as many volunteers as the coordinated campaign. So it actually fits in line pretty closely with what Anderson and the state parties pushing through the fight for 100 with volunteers is making sure that we don't only focus on places like Raleigh and Charlotte, but also all 100 counties across the state of North Carolina. So but just to step back, if you don't already know, I will explain it that door-to-door canvassing is the most effective way to help Democrats win. In terms of data, which is really important for everything that we do, every conversation someone has at the door, especially in the fall, makes that voter 7% more likely to vote. I didn't major in math, but I have been told by those that did that means every 14 conversations, you've added a Democratic vote. Takes about 2 hours to have about 14 conversations. So every 2 hours you go out there knocking doors, you're adding a vote for the Democrats. It's good to sort of set that baseline and then do a lot of canvassing if you're able to and encourage others to get out there as well. The counties where we aren't doing our paid canvassing program are Mecklenburg, Wake, Durham, Guilford, and Cumberland. Those larger, more populous cities in the counties that they're in are where we do our relational organizing program, but we've just excluded those so that the other 95 counties can get our resources. Not that there aren't really important door knocking programs in all of these counties as well. They tend to have more volunteers. And then where there are other paid canvassing programs, they're in places like Charlotte to boost turnout in those areas. Our program, in terms of distributed organizing, people can knock doors anytime and anywhere, which is one of the advantages of it. You can go out on a Tuesday for an hour and a half. It's not just that it's paid, it's that it's virtually supported and robustly supported in a way that's hard to do with sort of young field organizers very quickly showing people how to use the app on their phone and shoving them out the door. People can canvass in their own communities. They actually decide where to canvass. I'll kind of walk through what that looks like. But in terms of the payment for it, it's paid by completed canvassing list, which is about 50 to 60 doors, and it's $125 for that. So it's about takes about 3 to 3.5 hours for the average person to do one of our lists. Obviously, it can vary widely, but $125 for about 3 hours of work is the model there. It's paid as a contractor, so it's good compensation for a lot of folks to get them able to get out there and knocking doors. Signups are actually going to start around August 9th. I don't have the precise date yet, and they'll continue through the fall. All of our scripts in our lit are focused on voting. They're going to have things like information on the new North Carolina voter ID requirements to make sure we're educating voters on what they're going to need to have with them, deadlines for mail, where they can vote early in person in their county, all of that vital information, making sure they have a plan to vote. So we're not talking about candidates or issues for our canvassing program, although our canvassers can take out literature for any candidate that they would like, as long as they pick that up somewhere and provide it. And then a very important fact is that our data is coordinated with the statewide efforts for volunteers. So the Biden campaign, the Democratic Party, Josh Stein's campaign, everybody will have access to our canvassing data in real time. There's a data exchange that's real easy that's been set up in recent cycles. We're the largest contributor to that. So if somebody has a conversation with the voter through our program, or if just the door's knocked, that'll be in their vote builder by the next day. So the time that they reset their canvassing turfs, they'll have the benefit of that information so that there's not just a lot of redundancy on the doors in terms of that, which is a huge advantage of, there's no drawbacks really. It's sort of like we're the paid alternative to volunteering to help expand where door knocking is happening across the state. This is sort of a deck that I've shared with like many of the state party chairs across who I already had one-on-one conversations with. So I'm kind of going fast and it's sometimes a little more tactical than you may want, but the main way that we're recruiting people to participate in our program across North Carolina is like job boards. So we have a partner organization that's handling a lot of the recruitment, the HR, the administration of the canvassing, the training. And they're going to put this job up on Indeed.com and places where anybody's looking for part-time gig work. And we'll have hundreds of people sign up just through that. I'm our entire outreach department. So me talking to groups like you all, talking to county chairs. So I've talked to like the county, like most of the 100 county chairs and a lot of grassroots groups and NAACP chapters and just like the young Dems all across the state, college Dems, pitching this program, sending flyers to a lot of those orgs to hand out at community events, Juneteenth festivals, July 4th parades, just getting the word out as much as I can through the grassroots. And in August, I'll start to have regular info sessions that I'll have up on Mobilize, which is basically just like the same thing 3 times a week on repeat, where if anybody's like, I don't know, I might be willing to do that, but I want to hear more about it, they can hear more about it and ask questions before they just fill out an application and sign up. So we don't have on the ground people in the state of North Carolina clipboarding, getting paid to ask people to volunteer their time. We save all the money for the people that we're paying to do the work in their community. I'm going to fly through the rest of this so we can get to questions. But the way people actually decide where to canvass in the training is the last key part that I'll mention is they get trained virtually, like on Zoom, before they are out there on the door. So they don't have to go anywhere to get trained. They sign up for a training slot. They get trained. We mail the canvassing literature and a lanyard to their house. They use the minivan app. If you've ever canvassed before, you're familiar with that. So we train them on everything they need to know. It's a better training experience than getting sort of rushed in and out of a campaign office with a random turf that you have to drive to that you may have never been before. So that's how the training works. And then we have a website that shows all of the canvassing turfs available in the state of North Carolina at the level of detail of a census tract, which is fairly granular. It's like a large neighborhood. A census tract is fairly small. And they'll get a list once they're on that website and they're trained, so they can pick what census tract they want a canvas list from. So they can canvas very close to where they live, or if they're in a more rural area, they can see up front where our census tracts are in all of the towns and sort of rural counties. And if you are in somewhere like Durham, you can look and be like, I'm going to go to Person County, Vance, Franklin, Alamance, Orange County, and pick a turf before you even head out and go, just across the county border from one of the counties that's not part of the program. And I'm going to stop. Oops, I'm not going to play this for y'all, but these are QR codes that have the information on the canvassing programs. So one on the left, turnoutpack.org/doors. And the one on the right is turnoutpack.org/postcards, which is obviously for our postcard program. So both of those are much more helpful than our main website, just hard to navigate and not as well updated, unfortunately. But and I can drop these websites in the chat, but they're fairly straightforward. If you haven't got a chance to write them down yet, I will stop sharing and happy to answer any questions.
Reid, hey, I just put that up to make your day. Last